The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are a professional American football franchise based in Tampa, Florida. They are currently members of the South Division of the National Football Conference in the National Football League. They are the only team in the division not to come from the old NFC West. The team, along with the Seattle Seahawks, joined the NFL in 1976 as an expansion team. The Bucs played their first season in the AFC West as part of the 1976 expansion plan. After the season, they switched conferences with the Seattle Seahawks and became part of the NFC. The club is currently owned by the Glazer family. They play their home games at Raymond James Stadium in Tampa. The Buccaneers are the first post-merger expansion team to win a division title, win a playoff game, and to host and play in a conference championship game. This was accomplished during the 1979 season. They are also the first team since the merger to complete a winning season when starting 10 or more rookies, which happened in the 2010 season. In 1976 and 1977, the Buccaneers lost their first 26 games. After a brief winning era in the late 1970s and early 1980s, the team suffered through 14 consecutive losing seasons. Then, for a 10-year period, they were consistent playoff contenders and won Super Bowl XXXVII at the end of the 2002 season, but have not yet returned to the Super Bowl. Thus the Bucs, along with the New Orleans Saints and New York Jets, are the only NFL teams to win their lone Super Bowl appearance. Tampa Bay. The name Tampa Bay is often used to describe a geographic metropolitan area which encompasses the cities around the body of water known as Tampa Bay, including Tampa, St. Petersburg, Clearwater, Bradenton, and Sarasota. Unlike in the case of Green Bay, Wisconsin, there is no municipality known as Tampa Bay. The Tampa Bay in the names of local professional sports franchises denotes that they represent the entire region, not just Tampa or St. Petersburg. Franchise history. 1976 to 1978, the Buccaneers joined the NFL as members of the AFC West in 1976. The following year, they were moved to the NFC Central, while the other 1976 expansion team, the Seattle Seahawks, switched conferences with Tampa Bay and joined the AFC West. This realignment was dictated by the league as part of the 1976 expansion plan, so that both teams could play each other twice and every other NFL franchise once during their first two seasons. Instead of a traditional schedule of playing each division opponent twice, the Buccaneers played every conference team once, plus the Seahawks. The Tampa Bay expansion franchise was originally awarded to Tom McCloskey, a construction company owner from Philadelphia. McCloskey soon entered a financial dispute with the NFL, so the league found a replacement in Hugh Culverhouse, a wealthy tax attorney from Jacksonville. Culverhouse's handshake deal to purchase the Los Angeles Rams from the estate of Dan Reeves was thwarted by Robert Asay's purchase of the team, which he then traded to Carroll Rosenblum in exchange for the Baltimore Colts, a complete trade of teams between two owners. Culverhouse had long been alleged to be in line for an expansion franchise through a settlement of his antitrust lawsuits in which he accused the owners of conspiracy to prevent his purchase of the Rams. A name-the-team contest resulted in the nickname Buccaneers, a reference to the pirate legends of Southwest Florida. The team name was opposed by St. Petersburg businessmen on the grounds that it emphasized Tampa at the expense of other Bay Area cities, until NFL Commissioner Pete Rozelle himself met with them to encourage their support. Their uniforms and Bucco Bruce winking pirate logo were designed by Tampa Tribune artist Lamar Sparkman, with colors drawn from the state's four major college teams, orange from the universities of Miami and Florida, and red from FSU and the University of Tampa. They were one of the few teams to wear white home uniforms, forcing opponents to wear their dark uniforms in Tampa's 90-degree full heat. The team's first home was Tampa Stadium, which had recently been expanded to seat just over 72,500 fans. Steve Spurrier was the quarterback for Tampa Bay during their expansion season. Tampa Bay did not win their first game until the 13th week of their second season, starting with a record of 0-26. Until the Detroit Lions in 2008, The 1976 Bucs held the dubious title as the least winning team in NFL history. Their losing streak caused them to become the butt of late-night television comedians' jokes. Their first win came in December 1977, on the road against the New Orleans Saints. The Saints head coach Hank Stram was fired after losing to the Buccaneers. Tampa Bay only needed one more week to get their second victory, a home win over the St. Louis Cardinals in the 1977 season finale. The Cardinals also fired their coach, Don Coryell, shortly afterward. The team continued to improve in 1978, although injuries to several key players kept the team from achieving the winning record promised by McKay. 1979–1982. The Bucs' situation improved rapidly in the 1979 season. With the maturation of quarterback Doug Williams and future four-time Pro Bowl tight end Jimmy Giles, the first 1,000-yard rushing season from running back Ricky Bell, and a smothering, league-leading defense led by future NFL Hall of Famer Leroy Selman, the Bucs kicked off the season with 5 consecutive victories, a performance that landed them on the cover of Sports Illustrated. With 4 games left in the season, the Bucs needed to win only one of them to make the playoffs. In the first, STP was put all over the goalposts in Tampa to prevent the goalposts from being ripped down in the event of a celebration. 4 blocked kicks later, the Bucs wasted the oily substance, falling to the Minnesota Vikings 23–22. STP was wasted again the following week as the Bucs were shut out 14–0 by the Chicago Bears, and in O.J. Simpson's final home game in San Francisco, Tampa Bay lost its 3rd straight attempt to clinch a division title against a 49ers team which came in with a 1–13 record. However, in the season finale at home against the Kansas City Chiefs, which was played in the worst downpour in Bucs history, Tampa Bay pulled out a 3–0 victory. Finishing with a 10–6 record, the Bucs had their first winning season in franchise history, and won the Central Division in a tiebreaker over the Bears. In an upset, the Bucs defeated the Philadelphia Eagles 24–17 in the divisional round of the playoffs. Because the Los Angeles Rams defeated the Dallas Cowboys in the other NFC playoff game, the Bucs hosted the NFC Championship game the following week in Tampa. The Bucs lost to the Rams 9–0. In their 4th season, the Bucs seemed on the verge of fulfilling McKay's 5-year plan. The Bucs made the playoffs again by winning their division in the 1981 season. It came down to a thrilling final game at Detroit. The winner would take the Central Division crown and the loser would miss the playoffs. The Lions had not lost at home all season. Although the Bucs trailed early, an 84-yard touchdown bomb from QB Williams to W. Kevin House and a fumble recovery for a touchdown by DT David Logan sealed the win for the Bucs. In the playoffs, the Dallas Cowboys defeated the Bucs, 38–0, in the divisional round. The 1982 season started 0–3 for the Bucs, before a players' strike shut down the NFL for 7 weeks. When the league resumed play, the Bucs were nicknamed the Cardiac Kids for winning 5 of their next 6 games, all in the final moments, to go 5–4 and qualified for the expanded playoff slate. In the first round, the Bucs once again faced the Cowboys at Dallas, losing 30–17. As it turned out, this would be the last winning regular season under Culverhouse's ownership. 1983–1996, before the 1983 season, Williams bolted to the United States Football League in a salary dispute. The Bucs finished 2–14 during 1983, the first of 12 consecutive seasons with at least 10 losses, an NFL record. Included was the drafting of Heisman Trophy winner Bo Jackson with the first pick in the 1986 draft. Jackson had let it be known that he would never play a down for Hugh Culverhouse at Tampa Bay. Making good on his threat, he opted instead to play baseball for the Kansas City Royals and would later return for parts of football seasons with the Los Angeles Raiders. Along with Williams, who later was a Super Bowl champion QB for the Washington Redskins, 2 other Bug quarterbacks during this era led other teams to Super Bowl wins. Steve Young won with the 49ers and Trent Dilfer won with the Baltimore Ravens. Under Culverhouse, The Bucs were one of the NFL's more profitable teams during the 1980s. However, this was largely because he kept the payroll among the lowest in the league, hampering their ability to sign quality players. Attendance also sagged. At one point the Buccaneers went parts of 3 whole seasons without having a home game televised locally. Pro Bowl strong safety, John Lynch, was drafted in 1993. In the 1995 NFL Draft the Buccaneers drafted 2 future Hall of Famers, Warren Sapp and Derrick Brooks. Pro Bowl fullback, Michael Stewart, was drafted the next year in the 1996 Draft. 1994–1996, ownership change, and the team's future in Tampa. Despite the profitability of the Buccaneers in the 1980s, Culverhouse's death in 1994 revealed a team close to bankruptcy, which surprised many observers. His son, Miami attorney Hugh Culverhouse, Jr., practically forced the trustees of his father's estate to sell the team, which cast doubt on the future of the franchise in Tampa. Interested parties included New York Yankees owner George Steinbrenner and Baltimore Orioles owner Peter Angelos, the latter of whom publicly declared he would move the team to Baltimore, as the city did not have an NFL franchise at the time. However, in a last-minute surprise, Malcolm Glazer outbid both of them for $192 million, the highest sale price for a professional sports franchise up to that point. Glazer immediately placed his sons Brian, Edward, and Joel in charge of the team's financial affairs, and the family's deep pockets and serious commitment to fielding a winning team finally allowed the Bucs to become competitive. The team's performance dramatically improved when the Glazers hired Minnesota Vikings defensive coordinator Tony Dungy as head coach, jettisoned the old uniform designs, and convinced Hillsborough County voters to raise sales taxes to fund the construction of Raymond James Stadium, 1997–2001. During Dungy's first season in 1996, the team continued to struggle, starting the season 1–8. But in the second half of the season they finished 5–2, primarily due to the performance of a defense ranked 7th in the NFL led by Hardy Nickerson and the maturing of Sam White's draftees Brooks, Lynch, and Sapp. Dungy, with his even-tempered personality, quickly brought balance and morale to the team, and his cover 2 defensive scheme, sharpened to perfection by defensive coordinator Monty Kiffin and linebackers coach Lovie Smith, became the foundation for Tampa Bay's future success. Their version of Cover 2 was so successful that it became known as the Tampa 2. It has been brought to the Chicago Bears by Smith, Detroit Lions by Rod Marinelli, Kansas City Chiefs by Herman Edwards and to the Indianapolis Colts by Dungy himself, and copied by several other teams. The team started the 1997 season 5–0, picking up where they left off the previous year, and this quick start once again landed them on the cover of Sports Illustrated twice. The Bucs went 10–6 for their first winning season and playoff appearance since 1982, as a wild-card team. In the Bucs' final home game at Lions Stadium, the team defeated the Detroit Lions 20–10. They lost at Lambeau Field to the eventual NFC champion Green Bay Packers 21–7. Still, there was reason for optimism, and the expectations were high for the following season. The 1998 season, the first to be played in the newly constructed Raymond James Stadium, saw the Bucs lose several close games en route to a disappointing 8–8 record. The Bucs had to play the first 6 football games of the year on the road as the new stadium was not quite finished. The 1999 season brought much better fortune. On the strength of the NFL's number 3 overall defense and a surprising performance by rookie QB Sean King, the Bucs finished the season with an 11–5 record and won their 3rd NFC Central Division championship. They beat the Washington Redskins 14–13 in the divisional round, before losing to the eventual Super Bowl champion St. Louis Rams in an unusually low-scoring NFC championship game, 11–6. The Bucs' loss was controversial, highlighted by the unusual reversal of a pass from King to Robert Emanuel, which ended the Bucs' chances at continuing their last-minute drive for a possible win. In league meetings following the season, the NFL changed the rules regarding what constituted an incomplete pass, which was considered a backhanded admission that the reversal was incorrect. While the Bucs played well in 2000 and 2001 and made the playoffs in each season, they were unable to fulfill their primary goal of a Super Bowl victory. The wild card spots that Tampa Bay earned forced them to go on the road for their postseason opener in each year, and unfortunately for the warm-weather team, both road games took them into frigid Philadelphia to play the Eagles. The two losses also continued an unusual losing streak for Tampa Bay. They remained winless all-time in games played when the temperature was less than 32 degrees Fahrenheit. 2002, Super Bowl champions. Dungy was fired by the Buccaneers following a disappointing loss to the Philadelphia Eagles 31-9 in the wild card round of 2001 and soon thereafter hired as the head coach of the Indianapolis Colts, while the Bucs mounted a prolonged and much maligned search for his replacement. Several potential candidates were offered the job, including University of Florida head coach Steve Spurrier, former New York Giants head coach Bill Parcells, and Baltimore Ravens defensive coordinator Marvin Lewis. Spurrier jumped to the Redskins when he was offered the most lucrative salary package ever offered to an NFL head coach, and Parcells eventually passed on the Bucs' offer the second time he had done so in the history of the franchise. Bucs general manager Rich McKay threw his support behind Lewis. The Glazer brothers were so displeased with the selection of yet another defensive-minded coach that they overruled McKay and took control of the candidate search themselves. They made it clear that their top choice was John Gruden. However, he was still under contract with the Oakland Raiders. While talks with the Raiders were secretly underway, the Glazers publicly pursued another respected offensive mind, San Francisco 49ers head coach Steve Mariucci. Just when initial reports indicated that Mariucci had agreed to become both the Bucs head coach and their general manager, Raiders owner Al Davis agreed to release Gruden to Tampa Bay. The Glazers' shrewd move eventually paid off in acquiring Gruden, but it was costly. The team hired Gruden away from the Raiders on February 20, 2002, but the price was 4 draft picks, including the Bucs' first and second round picks in 2002, their first-round pick in 2003, and their second-round selection in 2004, along with $8 million in cash. Gruden was frustrated by the limitation of his coaching authority by Davis and was more than pleased to return to Tampa Bay. His parents lived in Carrollwood, and he had spent part of his childhood in Tampa in the early 1980s when his father was a running backs coach and later a scout for the Bucs. Upon his arrival in Tampa, Gruden immediately went to work, retooling a sluggish offense. The league's sweeping realignment sent the Bucs to the new NFC South division, along with the Atlanta Falcons, Carolina Panthers and New Orleans Saints. Led by the league's top defense, the 2002 campaign was the Buccaneers' most successful season to date. Linebacker Derrick Brooks was named the NFL Defensive Player of the Year with a tendency to make big plays. They won the NFC South title with the team's best-ever record, 12-4, and went on to rout Gruden's former team, the Raiders, who had the league's #1 offense, by a score of 48-21 in Super Bowl XXXVII, nicknamed the Pirate Bowl. 2003-2008, period of peaks and valleys. Soon after the Super Bowl victory, a growing number of press reports indicated Gruden's lack of patience with general manager McKay, a major architect of the Bucs' rebuilding effort over the previous 10 years. McKay, like Gruden, had long established ties to the Tampa Bay area. However, during the 2003 season, the Gruden-McKay relationship deteriorated as the Bucs struggled on the field. In November, Keyshawn Johnson was deactivated by the team 10 games into the season for his conduct, which included sideline arguments with Bucs coaches and players. Johnson was eventually traded to the Dallas Cowboys for wide receiver Joey Galloway, who later in his career played for the New England Patriots, Pittsburgh Steelers, and Washington Redskins. In December, the Glazers allowed McKay to leave the Bucs before the end of the regular season, and he promptly joined the Falcons as president and general manager. Thus, McKay watched his first game as a Falcons executive sitting next to owner Arthur Blank in a Raymond James Stadium skybox. The Falcons defeated the Bucs 30-28. The Bucs suffered a sluggish start and finished the season 7-9. With the Raiders' dismal 4-12 performance, neither Super Bowl team reached the playoffs that year. For 2004, Bruce Allen was hired as general manager. After Allen's arrival, both John Lynch and Warren Sapp were released, stunning many Buccaneer fans. The distracted Buccaneers began the 2004 season with a 1-5 record, their worst start under Gruden. The fading accuracy of kicker Martin Gramatica did not help matters, as the team lost many close games en route to a 5-11 record. In the 2005 season, the Buccaneers celebrated their 30th season in the league, and returned to their winning ways. The Bucs selected Carnell Cadillac Williams in the first round of the 2005 draft, and the rookie would provide a running game the Buccaneers had not possessed since the days of James Wilder in the 1980s. Williams would later go on to receive the NFL Offensive Rookie of the Year award. After starting 5-1, the team entered a mid-season slump hampered by a season-ending injury to starting QB Brian Griese. Replacement starter Chris Sims struggled early, but came into his own, leading the team to a last-minute win over the Redskins. The Bucs won the NFC South Division, finishing 11-5. The season ended abruptly, however, with a 17-10 loss in the wild card round, in a rematch with the Redskins. After winning the division in 2005, the Bucs suffered through an abysmal 2006 season. The season was plagued by injuries, with starters such as guard Dan Benning, wide receiver Michael Clayton, running back Cadillac Williams, defensive end Simeon Rice, cornerback Brian Kelly, and quarterback Chris Sims all being placed on injured reserve at some point in the season. The season also saw a lot of rookies starting for the Bucs, such as quarterback Bruce Gradkowski, tackle Jeremy Trueblood, and guard Davin Joseph. The Bucs started off the season 0-3, with Sims throwing only one touchdown to 7 interceptions. In the third game of the season, a last-minute loss to the Panthers, Sims's spleen was ruptured, and he was placed on injured reserve for the balance of the season. After their bye week, the Bucs elected to start Gradkowski, a sixth-round pick from Toledo. After nearly beating the Saints, Gradkowski led the team to last-minute wins over the Bengals and Eagles. The success was short-lived, however, and the Bucs lost 5 of the next 6 games. Tim Rattay replaced Gradkowski as quarterback late in the season, and the team finished 4-12. The aged defense, with 5 starters who had played there for a decade or more, was ranked 17th overall, the first time a Tampa defense was not ranked in the top 10 since 1996. After the disappointing 4-12 effort of 2006, the Buccaneers for the first time in several seasons had money to spend in free agency. They brought in quarterback Jeff Garcia, offensive tackle Luke Petitgout, defensive end Kevin Carter, and linebacker Cato June. On April 28, 2007, the Buccaneers drafted Clemson defensive end Gaines Adams with the 4th overall pick in the NFL Draft. After the draft, the Buccaneers picked up tight end Jeremy Stevens and defensive tackle Ryan Sims. The off-season changes resulted in the Buccaneers winning the NFC South title in the 2007 season, finishing with a 9-7 record, and the 4th seed in the conference. The division crown was the second one in 3 seasons under Gruden. In the wild card round of the playoffs held on January 6, 2008, the Buccaneers lost to the eventual Super Bowl champion New York Giants by a final score of 24-14. During the 2008 off-season, the Bucs re-signed head coach Gruden and general manager Allen through the 2011 season. They also acquired former players Warrick Dunn, who had spent the last 6 seasons with the Atlanta Falcons, and Brian Griese, who was the starting quarterbacks for the team in 2005 until a knee injury sidelined him for the remainder of the year. Chris Sims was finally released, having not played in a game since his injury in 2006. The Bucs got off to a great start in 2008, with a 9-3 record going into the final month of the season, tied for first place in the division, with a chance at the top seed in the conference. On December 2, it was announced that defensive coordinator Monty Kiffin would be leaving the team after the season's end, for the same job at the University of Tennessee, serving under his son Lane Kiffin, who had just been named the new head coach at the school. After the announcement, the Buccaneers would lose their final 4 games of the season to finish 9-7 for the second consecutive season. Unlike 2007, it was not enough to secure the division championship, nor a playoff appearance. 2009-2011, the Raheem Morris era. Raheem Morris was named the replacement for Monty Kiffin as defensive coordinator in December 2008. A month later, after the huge collapse that ended the 2008 season, the Buccaneers fired John Gruden and swiftly elevated Morris to the head coach position. Bruce Allen was also let go, with Mark Dominique his successor as general manager. Several veterans were released including Derek Brooks, Joey Galloway, and Jeff Garcia. The new staff traded for tight end Kellen Winslow Jr., signed quarterback Byron Leftwich, and drafted Josh Freeman with the 17th overall pick. The 2009 squad started out 0-7, behind Leftwich and later Josh Johnson. Following their bye week, the team elevated Freeman to starting quarterback, resulting in the team's first win of the season. The team finished 3-13, the worst record since 1991. In 2010, the Buccaneers surprised many, producing the greatest single-season turnaround in franchise history, going 10-6. This was largely behind the stellar performances of Freeman, rookie receiver Mike Williams, and LeGarrette Blount. Despite the effort, the team narrowly missed the playoffs, losing out on the wild-card tiebreaker to eventual Super Bowl XXXVII champion Green Bay. Tampa Bay began the 2011 season with high hopes, adding several key defensive players through the draft. After a 4-2 start, however, the Buccaneers collapsed, dropping 10 consecutive games to finish 4-12. One day after a 45-24 loss to Atlanta in their final game of the season, the team fired Morris, offensive coordinator Greg Olson and the rest of his corresponding staff. During the Morris era, the lack of on-the-field success, along with several contributing factors, including the recession, saw attendance slip, precipitating local television blackouts for the first time since the mid-1990s. All 8 regular season home games were blacked out in 2010, and 5 of 7 were blacked out in 2011. 2012-2013, Schiano era. About 3 weeks after firing Raheem Morris, the Buccaneers hired Schiano from Rutgers as the new head coach. During his introductory conference he stated there will be Buccaneer men, and there will be a Buccaneer way. The phrase "the Buccaneer way" became a slogan amongst fans and local media, describing the new regime and attitude. The team filled out the coaching staff with new faces, including Mike Sullivan, Bill Sheridan, and Butch Davis. In 2013, Dave Wannstedt was also added as special teams coach. In the first day of free agency, the club signed top prospects Vincent Jackson and Carl Nicks, as well as Eric Wright. The $140 million committed to the team during that 24-hour period is considered the largest investment the Glazer family has put into the team going back almost a decade. The team would finish the 2012 season at 7-9, notably ranking first in rushing defense. Furthermore, the rushing offense was highlighted by the breakout performance of Doug Martin. After 2 seasons of game day local television blackouts, the improved team began seeing increased attendance and attention, and some blackouts lifted. 6 games were blacked out in 2012. For the 3-year period of 2010 to 2012 the Bucs led the NFL in local television blackouts with 19. Schiano's strict and regimented coaching style, however, drew criticism at the end of the game against the Giants, ordering his defense to continue to aggressively tackle the offense as the quarterback was taking a knee to end the game. Coming into the 2013 season, fans and analysts had better than average expectations for Tampa Bay. They were expected to improve their record, and potentially make a playoffs run. The predictions proved unfounded, as numerous issues on and off the field saw the team collapse. During training camp, a reported rift began to divide Schiano and quarterback Josh Freeman. After an 0-3 start, Freeman was benched, and ultimately released. Schiano started rookie Mike Glennon, but the team continued to lose. The fans' confidence of Schiano began to decay rapidly, and after a 0-8 start, the team finally got its first win of the season on a Monday night against Miami. A brief win streak saw improvements with Glennon at quarterback, and Bobby Rainey took over at running back with stellar numbers after Doug Martin went down with a shoulder injury. There were no blackouts in 2013, as the Glazers bought up the necessary tickets for 2 of the games to get to the 85% threshold needed to prevent local blackouts. Despite some individual improvements, and some impressive performances by members of the defense, the team dropped the last 3 games of the season, and finished 4-12. The team ranked last or near the bottom in almost every offensive category. On December 30, 2013, Schiano and general manager Mark Dominique were fired. 2014 present, the Lovie Smith and Jason Licht era. Death of owner Malcolm Glazer. On January 1, 2014, Lovie Smith was hired as the new head coach of the Buccaneers, replacing Greg Schiano. Smith has previously spent 5 seasons with the Buccaneers from 1996 to 2001 coaching the linebackers under Tony Dungy. During his first news conference with the Bucs, Smith talked about restoring the quality of the team from the late 1990s and early 2000s. "There was a certain brand of football you expected from us," Smith said. "You know we would be relentless. There was a brand of football that you got from us each week at Raymond James Stadium. It was hard for opponents to come in and win. We have gotten away from that a little bit, and eat a Euro unregistered trademark time for us to become a relevant team again." On January 21, 2014, Jason Licht was hired as the new general manager, replacing Mark Dominique. He was officially introduced at One Book Place on January 23, 2014. In his first news conference, Licht talked about his philosophy. "Our philosophy is going to be to build through the draft. That's where we find our stars. That's where we find the next generation. But also in the short term and long term we're going to supplement our roster through free agency, but we're going to look for value. We're going to spend wisely." Reflecting the team's fresh start, the Buccaneers will wear updated jerseys for the 2014 season. Team facilities. Since 1998 the Buccaneers have played their home games at Raymond James Stadium in Tampa. Prior to that they played in Tampa stadiums since their establishment. In 1975, the Buccaneers built a small practice complex with offices near Tampa International Airport called One Buccaneer Place. As other NFL teams upgraded their facilities, Bucs players and coaches stepped up their complaints about the aircraft noise, cramped offices, small locker rooms and rundown condition of One Book Place. Even then head coach John Gruden has sarcastically referred to the facility as the woodshed. For much of the team's existence, the Bucs held training camp on the University of Tampa campus, then at the expansive and better-equipped Disney's Wide World of Sports complex near Orlando. In August 2006, the Bucs unveiled their new training facility. Conveniently located across the street from Raymond James Stadium, this state-of-the-art complex facility on 33 acres, is the largest in the NFL. Its features include offices and meeting rooms, 3 natural grass practice fields, a theater for meetings and press conferences, an expanded weight room, a fully equipped kitchen and dining room, a rehabilitation center with 3 separate pools and a locker room twice the size of the former location. The building is capped off with a giant 5-story glass and steel football as a key design element. A third practice field, featuring artificial turf, was also planned. In 2009, the team began holding training camp at the new upgraded facilities in Tampa. In the second week of September 2007, statues of important figures from the Bucs' 2002 championship season were moved into the lobby area in an exhibit called Moment of Victory. The life-size statues included players Mike Alstott, Ron Barber, Derek Brooks, Brad Johnson, John Lynch, Shelton Quills, Simeon Rice, Warren Sapp, and head coach John Gruden. The statues are modeled after images from the sideline towards the end of Super Bowl XXXVII. Practices at the currently unnamed facility will remain closed to the public, although the existing mall parking on the west side of the property is still available for use on game days. The facility is still referred to as One Book Place, or sometimes by local media as One Book Palace. Logos and uniforms, 1976 Euro 1996. When the team began play in 1976, Culverhouse initially picked team colors of red, green, orange and white. However, the shade of green was too close to that used by the Miami Dolphins. A medium shade of Florida orange was substituted for green. Home uniforms included orange jerseys with white numerals outlined in red the now infamous creamsicle uniforms. Road white jerseys originally had orange numerals outlined in red, but these colors were reversed for year 2 and beyond. The color swap provided better visibility, especially for television coverage purposes. Longtime Tampa Tribune cartoonist and E-Mystic crew of Gasparilla member Lamar Sparkman designed the first team logo. Faced with the challenge of designing a logo that did not closely resemble that of the other pirates in the league, the Oakland Raiders, Sparkman came up with a pirate in a plumed slouch hat, with a large hoop earring, clutching a dagger in his teeth. The pirate appeared to be winking. He came to be known as Bruce the Buccaneer, or Buccaneer Bruce. Sports writer and commentator Nick Bacow once said that Buccaneer Bruce was a pirate who struck fear in the hearts of no one. However, there was controversy over where the cartoonist received inspiration for his Buccaneer. Beloit College, located in Beloit, Wisconsin, received a notice from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers of the college's illegitimate use of their mascot. Beloit College's Buccaneer is the mirror image of the Tampa Bay Buccaneer, with the creamsicle colors replaced with Beloit's school colors. Athletic director Ed DeGeorge said Beloit's Buccaneers have used the logo since the early 1980s, when he chose it from a book while ordering decals for the football team's helmets. The NFL's Buccaneers joined the league in 1976. However, the Buccaneers withdrew their claim against Beloit College because of the independent decision to redesign the logo. In 1992, the Buccaneers introduced orange pants to be worn with the white jerseys. Prior to the team's season finale in 1995 against the Lions, lame duck coach Sam Wyke suggested that the Buccaneers wear the orange pants with their orange jerseys. The idea was vetoed by, among others, Pro Bowl linebacker Hardy Nickerson. For the 1993 season, the Buccaneers added a commemorative patch to the right sleeve of their orange, away uniforms, which read, Mr. C in cursive script. 1997 Euro 2013. For the 1997 season, the Buccaneers worked with the NFL to develop a more marketable and intimidating look in order to improve the team's image. The Buccaneers changed their team colors to red, pewter, black and orange. Bucco Bruce was replaced by a red flag displaying a white pirate's skull and crossed sabers, which is a modified Jolly Roger. The flag was mounted on another saber. The Buccaneers team name was written in a new font, totally Gothic, and was either red with shadows of pewter or red and white. Orange pinstriping, and an orange football, was used to maintain a visual link to the former colors. Chris Berman nicknamed them the Pirates in Pewter Pants, a play on the Gilbert and Sullivan opera The Pirates of Penzance. The Buccaneers planned to stage a ceremony in which Bruce was to walk the plank of a pirate ship in Tampa Bay, but he was pardoned at the last minute by Governor Lawton Chiles. The new uniforms were adopted while Raymond James Stadium was still under construction, and the new colors would be prominent at the new facility. This new color scheme closely resembled that of the Tampa Bay Bandits, the USFL team that played in the region from 1983 to 1985 and had a color scheme of red, silver, black and white. The new uniforms provided a combination of either red or white jerseys with either pewter or white pants. The red-on-white combination has been used sparingly, but was brought back for a SNF home game against the Seattle Seahawks in 2008, and it was worn again against the following teams and years. A home game against the New Orleans Saints in 2009, both road and home games against the Carolina Panthers in 2010, and a home game against the Houston Texans in 2011. The Buccaneers reverted to pewter pants with both jerseys under former head coach Greg Schiano. In 2003, the Buccaneers introduced a practice jersey that featured orange piping. In 2004, a pewter practice jersey was used, with numerals in the totally Gothic font. Like many other NFL teams located in subtropical climates, the Buccaneers traditionally wear their white road jerseys at home during the first half of the season, forcing opponents to suffer in their darker colors during the hot summers and autumns in Tampa. Additionally, the visitors' bench of Raymond James Stadium is located on the east side of the stadium, which is in direct sunlight for 1 p.m. Eastern games. The west sideline is in the shade. In 1989, the Buccaneers started to wear white at home to accommodate Vinny Testaverde's color blindness. Vinny Testaverde had bad performances in the darker uniforms and persuaded head coach Ray Perkins to change the team's home uniform to white. In certain years such as 1989 1991, and in 1996 the last year of the original uniforms, the Bucs generally wore white at home for the entire season including pre-season. Since the new uniforms were adopted, the Bucs wear the red jerseys for the last few home games, and for nearly all night home games. In the pre-season, the Bucs may or may not wear white for their home games. The Bucs have worn their red jerseys for all home postseason games except for a January 6, 2008 playoff match against the New York Giants, where the Bucs wore white instead, as the temperature that day was unseasonably high. The Buccaneers' 1997 uniform change prompted a 2003 lawsuit by the Oakland Raiders, who claimed that the NFL and the Buccaneers had infringed upon key trademark elements of the Raiders brand, including the Raiders pirate logo. In the same suit, the Raiders challenged the Carolina Panthers' color scheme, which included silver and black. The Raiders wanted the courts to bar the Buccaneers and Panthers from wearing their uniforms while playing in California. However, since the lawsuit was filed in a California state court, the lawsuit was tossed out because only federal courts have jurisdiction on intellectual property issues. 2014 present. The Buccaneers unveiled a slightly altered logo and helmet on February 20, 2014. On March 3, 2014, they unveiled the entire new uniform to be used starting in the 2014 season. Throwback: following the uniform change in 1997, the Buccaneers did not wear the old uniform, even during popular league-sponsored throwback weekends. Team merchandise in the old color scheme was also eliminated for several years. In 2008, the team revealed that they would be wearing the orange throwback uniforms for at least one game in the 2009 season. Their use was in conjunction with the creation of a Buccaneers Ring of Honor, coinciding with the 30th anniversary of the 1979 Division Championship team. Throwback merchandise went on sale in the summer of 2009, and referred to the orange color, not as Florida orange, but as orange glaze. Considerable research was done using photographs and old uniforms to match the original color schemes. The dagger-biting pirate was given a cleaned-up look, and the orange, red and white uniforms debuted against the Green Bay Packers on November 8, 2009. Raymond James Stadium was also transformed via orange banners and classic field logos and fonts back to the classic Tampa Stadium look of the late 1970s. The Buccaneers won their first throwback game behind rookie quarterback Josh Freeman's first career NFL start. The single throwback uniform game has since become an annual tradition, though it did not occur in the 2013 season due to new league restrictions suggesting players wear the same helmet throughout the season for safety reasons. Defense: throughout their history, the Buccaneers have been known for their suffocating defense. It started with the drafting of Hall of Fame defensive end Leroy Selmon with their first pick ever in 1976. 3 Buccaneer players have been named the AP Defensive Player of the Year, and the team has led the league in total defense on 3 occasions. All 3 of the Buccaneers Hall of Fame inductees are defensive players. 1978 1982, led by Selmon, linebackers Dewey Selmon, Richard Wood, Dave Lewis, and Mike Washington, Mark Cotney, and Cedric Brown in the secondary. The early years Buccaneers quickly earned an identity as a defensive team. Their 3-4 defense peaked in 1979 when they led the league in total defense, points allowed, and first downs allowed. Leroy Selman was voted NFL Defensive Player of the Year, but they eventually fell 10 points short of the Super Bowl as the offense held them back in the NFC Championship game in a 9-0 loss to the Los Angeles Rams. 1997 2008 The Tampa 2, the team drafted franchise cornerstones John Lynch in 1993, and Warren Sapp and Derek Brooks in 1995 to go along with All-Pro linebacker Hardy Nickerson. That was followed by the hiring of innovative defensive coordinator Monty Kiffin in 1996. The new-look Buccaneers set the stage for one of the greatest defensive runs in NFL history. From 1997 to 2008, the Buccaneers' defense finished in the league's top 10 every year but one, including 8 top 5 finishes, and 2 top-ranked efforts. Kiffin along with head coach Tony Dungy created the Tampa 2 defense, a modified version of the established Cover 2 scheme. Kiffin's defenses were known as gang tacklers with tremendous team speed with a front four that could pressure the quarterback consistently, fast sideline-to-sideline linebackers, and a hard-hitting secondary that caused turnovers. Many teams have copied the Tampa 2, but none have come close to the success the Buccaneers experienced, led by numerous Pro Bowlers and Hall of Famers. The Tampa Bay defense featured future Hall of Famers, Derek Brooks and Warren Sapp, and Pro Bowlers, John Lynch, Ron Barber, Hardy Nickerson, Simeon Rice, Shelton Quills, Donnie Abraham, and Super Bowl XXXVII MVP Dexter Jackson. 2002 defense. The 2002 Buccaneers defense is widely regarded as one of the greatest defenses in NFL history, rivaled only by the 2000 Ravens, 1985 Bears, 1976 Steelers, and few others. In the regular season Tampa Bay led the league in total defense, points allowed, first downs allowed, passing, interceptions returned for touchdowns, opponent passer rating, and shutouts. They also finished third in opponent rushing average, and sixth in sacks. Derek Brooks was awarded AP Defensive Player of the Year as the defense led the way to a 12-4 regular season. The team was even better in the postseason, allowing only 37 points in 3 games combined all against top 10 offenses. In those 3 playoff games, they intercepted 9 passes, returning 4 for touchdowns and collected 11 sacks. In Super Bowl XXXVII, the Buccaneers delivered one of the most dominant defensive performances in Super Bowl history. Playing against the number 1 offense in the league led by league MVP Rich Gannon, the defense actually outscored the Raiders' offense, allowing 2 offensive touchdowns while returning 3 picks for touchdowns. The defense set 2 records in the 48-21 blowout, one for most interceptions in a Super Bowl, and one for most interceptions returned for touchdowns in a Super Bowl. In 19 total games in 2002, the Buccaneers recorded 40 interceptions, 53 sacks, and 9 defensive touchdowns. Facts and records, losing streaks. The expansion Buccaneers lost all 14 games during the 1976 regular season, and the first 12 games of the 1977 season, for a record 26 straight losses. Even after the season expanded to 16 games in 1978, they remained the only NFL team in the modern era to experience a winless season until Detroit went 0-16 in 2008. Tampa Bay had a 20-game road losing streak against AFC teams that finally ended with a 17-10 victory at Denver on December 26, 1993. In 1980, after beating the Bengals at Riverfront Stadium, the Buccaneers began a 27-game losing streak of games played outdoors on AstroTurf. The streak was broken in 1995, with a victory over the Eagles at Veterans Stadium. From their inception, Tampa Bay lost 20 consecutive games in which the temperature at kickoff was below 40 Fahrenheit. The streak ended in the final week of the 2002 regular season, when they beat the Bears at Champaign. From their inception in 1976 through 1995, Tampa Bay had a dismal 1-19 record in games played on the West Coast. Starting with a noteworthy comeback victory at San Diego in 1996, the club improved slightly in the Pacific time zone, going 6-8 over their next 14 such games, including their victory in Super Bowl XXXVII. Tampa Bay was 0-6 in their first 6 postseason road games. Their first road playoff win did not come until the 2002 season, in the NFC Championship at Philadelphia. From 1990-2001, Tampa lost 13 consecutive games on the road against their division rival Green Bay, including one divisional playoff game. The losing streak was snapped in 2005 when Tampa Bay won 17-16 at Lambeau Field, when the two teams were no longer in the same division. From their inception until 2008, Tampa Bay had never won a road game in which they trailed by 10-plus points in the second half. The streak was broken with 2 come-from-behind overtime wins at Chicago and Kansas City. The win against Kansas City saw the Buccaneers rally from a 21-point deficit, the greatest comeback in franchise history. Records: Matt Bryant's 62-yard, game-winning field goal against the Eagles in 2006 was the third longest field goal in NFL history. It is now €6. The NFL record is 64 yards. The Buccaneers are the first post-merger expansion team to win a division title, win a playoff game, and to host and play in a conference championship game. This was accomplished during the 1979 season. They are the first team since the merger to complete a winning season when starting 10 or more rookies, which happened in the 2010 season. Until December 16, 2007, the Buccaneers were the only NFL team to have never returned a kickoff for a touchdown during the regular season. This distinction ended when Mike Spurlock returned the 1,865th try 90 yards for the score during the Week 15 game against the Atlanta Falcons. The Buccaneers hold several distinctive NFL defensive streaks set during a period from 1999-2003. A record 69 consecutive games with at least 1 sack. The record was broken on November 9, 2003 against Carolina. The streak ended the following week on November 16, 2003 against Green Bay, 50 consecutive games with at least 1 sack and 1 forced turnover. The streak ended on November 16, 2003 against Green Bay, 54 consecutive games with at least 1 forced turnover. The streak ended December 14, 2003 against the Texans. The all-time record was 71 consecutive games by the Eagles. Players, current roster, Pro Football Hall of Famers, retired numbers, player changed number during duration, individual awards, Tampa Stadium Crew of Honor. In 1991, the organization initiated the Crew of Honor, which featured a mural of the first class of 3 members. Quarterback Doug Williams was inducted September 6, 1992 and owner Hugh Culverhouse on September 5, 1993. No additional members were added before Tampa Stadium was closed and demolished. When the stadium was demolished in 1998, so was the crew. 1991, Leroy Selman, 1991, John McKay, 1991, Ricky Bell, 1992, Doug Williams, 1993. Hugh Culverhouse, Ring of Honor. On November 8, 2009, the team unveiled a new Ring of Honor at Raymond James Stadium. 2009, Leroy Selman, 2010, John McKay, 2011, Jimmy Giles, 2012, Paul Gruber, 2013, Warren Sapp, 2014, Derek Brooks, Pro Bowlers. Many former and current Tampa Bay Buccaneer players have represented the franchise in the Pro Bowl. All-time first-round draft picks. Coaches of note, head coaches. Current staff, cheerleaders. The Bucs created an official cheerleading squad in their first season, called the Swashbucklers. In 1999, they were renamed as the Tampa Bay Buccaneers Cheerleaders. Radio and television. The Buccaneers' current flagship radio stations are WFUS 103.5 Fathoms and WDAE 620 AM. The play-by-play announcer since 1989 has been Gene Deckerhoff. Former Bucs tight end Dave Moore joined Deckerhoff as analyst for the 2007 season. T.J. Reeves works as the sideline reporter. Broadcast legend and former Green Bay Packers announcer Ray Scott was the play-by-play man for the Bucs' inaugural season of 1976, and from 1977 to 1988 Mark Champion, who became the voice of the Detroit Lions and now the Detroit Pistons, held the position with the Bucs. Former Buccaneer Hardy Nickerson served as color commentator for one season in 2006, until he signed with the Bears as a linebackers coach on February 23, 2007. Nickerson had replaced Scott Brantley, who was the commentator from 1999 through 2005. Jesse Ventura, the famous professional wrestler, actor, and former governor of Minnesota, was Deckerhoff's partner on the Bucs radio broadcasts for 1 year, 1990, and former Boog David Logan held the position after Ventura until his death after the 1998 season. Dave Kocurek and Frank Kersey were also color commenters for the Buccaneers during their earlier years. Ronnie Lane previously worked as a sideline reporter. The Bucs have broadcast on FM radio since signing with top 40 station WRBQ in 1992. The team moved to WQYK-FM in 1994, then to WFUS in 2004. While regular season and postseason games in the NFL are all broadcast by national television contracts on CBS, Fox, NBC, ESPN and NFL Network, the television broadcasts are for the most part handled by the individual teams. Effective with the 2011 season, preseason games not picked up for national broadcast are seen on WTSP Channel 10. WFTV Channel 9 simulcasts the broadcast in the Orlando area. CBS, Fox and NBC games are shown respectively in Tampa Bay on WTSP, WTVT Channel 13 and WFLA Channel 8, while they are shown respectively in Orlando on WKMG, WOFL and WESH. Monday Night Football games on ESPN and Thursday night games on NFL Network are simulcast locally on WMOR-TV, who also previously carried the Bucs Sunday Night Football games when they were televised on ESPN and TNT. Previously, the Bucs appearances on the cable networks were seen locally on WFLA-TV and WFTS. WFLA was the previous home to Buccaneer preseason games, where they have been televised from 2003 to 2010. At WFLA, Chris Myers was the play-by-play announcer with John Lynch as color commentator. Both Myers and Lynch worked nationally with Fox Sports. Ron Jaworski previously served as color commentator, until he signed with MNF for 2007. Charles Davis also served as color commentator from 2007 to 2008. WTOG Channel 44 also previously broadcast Buccaneer preseason games for many years, ending in 2002. Former CBS play-by-play and ESPN golf broadcaster Jim Kelly was the play-by-play announcer for many of those games in the 1980s, and Joe Namath was a commentator. In the early years of the franchise, WTVT, then a CBS affiliate, broadcast some Buccaneer preseason games. Sports anchor Andy Hardy handled the play-by-play, and for one game in 1978, his broadcast partner was his friend, Florida State alumni and movie actor Burt Reynolds. Notes and references. External links, official website.